OBS reconnected. Still got the stream running. All right, we are actually running. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Do-do-boop-boop-doo. All right, mic check, mic check. All right, I think we're doing good. Today's stream, before the regular stream, I'm gonna kind of walk through how I'm setting up the targets for my next couple grid bots and limit buy purchases. I'm gonna assume that folks mostly know what a grid bot is or can ask YouTube and figure it out. But essentially, a grid bot is a bot that runs between a high and low range, sets a spread of limit orders within that range, and when price goes up into the targets, it sells, and when price goes down into the range, it buys, constantly arbitraging the volatility in the up and down swings. So I am working on a website. It's called mechanicalcupcakes.fun. Um, gonna have a description of the Discord that I'm setting up, and ultimately there will be an application into the Discord on the website, as well as a description of the technical analysis TV station that we're creating, and um, also we'll have updated socials as well that folks can follow on once the kind of content is a little bit more refined. Um, and of course, I will have one of my chat bots next year up and running to kind of help guide you through uh, what we're all about here. If you like any of this content, you want to learn more about it, I'm going to actually tell you to follow other people in the monthly TA video playlists on my YouTube channel. You will find the current and past months. Here's October's months, and essentially the YouTubers that I'm following that help keep me safe, that I've gotten all my education from, some of it paid, all of it, a lot of it free. So, and these YouTubers have have been around since 2017. They've seen some ups and downs, um, and have great explanations of the how to use moving averages, how to use RSI, volatility indicators, um, and of course Elliott wave, as well as how to use the Fibonacci's, which is common amongst all of the uh, YouTubers that I follow. So check out my playlists. Um, got everything for the noob, as well as folks that are just new to trading. Um, let's start first with the crypto fear and greed index. We can see we're at 11 today, and this is extreme fear. And historically, this has been great opportunities to start accumulating Bitcoin. Um, and, you know, even in the fear area is great time to accumulate Bitcoin, especially after a extreme fear reading. So this is telling us that lots of folks are fearful, they are selling, and historically this has brought in good lows for us to add to our long-term positions. So going to show you how I do that today, or talk about it. YouTube was having trouble streaming with my VPN, so unfortunately we won't be doing any live stream of the actual setting up the grid bot on the exchange. My goal is to maybe this week record the video not live, and then edit it and get it posted so people can see what the grid bot looks like. But we are looking to buy, and we are looking to buy over time, over the course of this year. And we are well aware that price can go lower. A couple interesting products or metrics. This is from CoinGlass and Coinbase. Essentially, it's the Coinbase Premium Index. If we put it on the daily, you can see that the red lows have been good lows to accumulate over time, and in particular as price moves up after time of accumulation. We are getting into the red zone, and so again, this is just to tell us that price can go down lower, and that if we are dollar cost averaging over time, this is a great time to start nibbling and adding Bitcoin um, to our stack. And of course, on Phemex, I can put my Bitcoin into an investment sub account and earn 3% on my Bitcoin. So I'm accumulating Bitcoin, moving it into my long-term HODL sub account on Phemex, and essentially earning 3% while price continues to drop, and I'll keep buying, keep buying and earning. Again, is long-term accumulation strategy here. But we want to make sure that we're accumulating in the long term at good prices, and that we are, going with the trend, so that when we get to lower time frames, we're not confused about whether we want to short or start longing. Sorry for my very dry throat. Not used to talking this much. Maybe I need to do like a voice exercise warm up or something before these. So if we look at, we know that Bitcoin is a risk asset when compared to other assets that have much higher market cap dominance. There's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in US dollar. Likewise, there is lots of money in Tether, and lots of money in Nvidia, right? Nvidia is one of the Mag 7, I believe. But essentially what we see here, if we look at the US dollar, the Dixie on the weekly, is that while we are in an overall de-dollarization, a downtrend, we are seeing a bounce up and increasing value of the dollar over the past several weeks. And we have some targets between 101 and 104 that we can expect to get hit. You can see we're now coming into the 50-week moving average, the blue line, purple cloud. So we can expect some volatility in here, possibly a rejection from the top of the cloud. But we're seeing money across the world moving into the dollar, and so it's coming out of things, and particularly coming out of risk assets like Bitcoin currently. So dollar DXY value is going up. In the crypto world, we look at USDT Tether dominance. We can see Tether dominance has been spiking. This tells us that people, again, are moving out of assets and moving into the dollar. And then so we can expect the assets that folks are moving out of, the riskier assets, to go down. And we do know that at the same time that we've had the dollar coming down, overall Tether dominance getting squeezed and coming down, that we have seen an explosion in Nvidia. And we see a potential topping pattern coming into Nvidia, and we would expect, once the 5 and the 13 EMAs cross to the downside, we would be looking at targets at the 50-week on Nvidia, and potentially a test of the 200-week EMA. It's not until the 50 cloud would break that we would expect a move down to the 200. However, you can see that it has been a while since we've tested the 200. Who wouldn't want to buy Nvidia back at $100, 50% discount? Can happen. We don't know. Step one is the 50-week. But again, people are moving out of Nvidia and into the US dollar. we can probably expect the same thing, folks moving out of Bitcoin and into Tether, or moving out of altcoins into Bitcoin. So that's why we show the Bitcoin dominance and price in relationship to alts. Currently, we have an uptrend, even though we have a local downtrend. Bitcoin price has also been trending down, and so essentially we've been watching alts drop as well, even though they've had some bounces interday and interweek. So we are not caught off guard. We are not surprised, and we are, what goes up must come down. What comes down must bounce eventually. And the question is are we exhausting our move to the downside? Are there other downside targets that we can look at to help keep us safe? So again, we're not confused. So if we look at, first of all, welcome to the 3-frame life. This is what we do here. If you like the 3-frame views, I definitely suggest checking out the New Wave Traders and the monthly TA video playlist, and checking out their education. I have Heikin-Ashi candles on here, which just smooth out the uptrends and the downtrends. We're not really looking at the wicks or the candles very much, but essentially when the red and yellow 5 and 13 EMA started angling sideways, we start looking at signals showing up on lower time frames to tell us that, this, because EMAs are a lagging indicator, they can give us, as we move down in time frames, less lag, so that we're not caught unaware of this move to the downside. So we eventually did have the weekly 5 and 13 EMA cross. That set up a minimum target of the 50 EMA, which of course was hit. This is what we call Bitcoin being on struggle street. And since then, we've essentially had a pull down, and it's not until we break 75,000 that we actually put in a lower low. So as long as we're above 75,000, we're putting in a lower high. It's not a bad thing. However, historically, 2 weekly closes below the 50 EMA has signaled the highs of a 4-year cycle. So we want to be very cognizant of that. And of course, we really need 3 candles below the 50-week EMA to confirm, and then to set up price targets to the 200 weekly EMA, which is sitting down here at 65. So remember, 75, 65, 66 are 2 areas of interest to the downside. So when we started going flat on the EMAs, and when support flipped resistance for sure, we started watching the 4-day. Essentially, we have a high put in at 126 on the 4-day. So we have a high set to our range. I have a volume indicator here that shows us the last 2 uptrends and ranges, and how Bitcoin reacted. Boom. And so we were expecting, as the 5 and 13 EMA crossed down to the 50 and below, we expected a test of this mean of this range here from 126 to 75. And we hit it And we've since watched it come down to the support target of 80,000 on the 200 EMA on the 4-day time frame. And of course, we do see a volume node of support here. So again, we were not surprised or caught off guard of this move down to 80K. And in fact, those targets have been hit. The 4-day time frame is what we were watching for direction of volatility on the stochastic. The trend has been down on stochastic. We do expect an eventual bounce and move to the upside, and at that point we'll be looking to see if this trend line gets rejected or becomes resistance and continues just kind of stochastic, kind of getting compressed as Bitcoin puts in a low somewhere. We also saw over here on the weekly time frame on the B Bollinger Band with percentile that volatility has been moving, expanding off the bottoms here. And if we're going to get a bounce, we want to see a interweek contraction. So increased volatility, we're not surprised. Direction to the downside, not surprised. And now that we have hit our target, we can even expand the range. And we have a new mean of 67,646 for our next support target. Bam. That was hit. And so we have a range forming around 66. If we look on the 2-day, so again, the two-day gave us the best signal on the 5 and 13 cross, target down to the 50. We got a bounce and a new high put in, a cross back up on the 5 and 13. However, we rejected from the new high. Again, crossing below the 5 and 13, setting up the target on the 50, crossing down, setting up the target at the 200. You can see that was hit the other day. Excuse me. If we look on the 2-day, we can see that we've had increasing volatility, an expansion to the upside, getting higher and higher with each push, and that has continued to push down the price. We can see here we've hit the kind of hot zone for our move down, and so we would expect price to either run at this high for a little bit. You can see sometimes we get little bounces, but you can see largely after a main move in one direction, we contract back down, get some sideways, and get a lot of ranging with this indicator, and a lot of bounces. So we had some ranging, large move to the downside. We're looking for some ranging again, and then probably a lower high, and then after that lower high, we'll have to either start looking at whether we get higher lows or lower lows. So we have what looks like a juicy territory for range between 66 and 126. We can even bring our upper range down from 126 and get 107, because what we want to do is kind of take advantage of the current potential bottom trade ranges, and then when we think we found the bottom, um, and we start putting in higher lows, we can uh, close the grid bot with the best price of for the Bitcoin that we accumulated during that range, that we could get by trading constantly and automatically with the grid bot. All right, hope that makes sense to somebody. Get these numbers back on there. There we go. So what does that start to look like? So we want two bots. So in our upper ranges, we have 107.5. Really got to get back up over 102 to get back up into this range. So what we're looking to do is trade this lower range between 107 and 75. Yeah, which is the previous low here. And then we want to set up another grid bot with this 618 area, 94, and we want the lower range to be 66. So let's see. The chart doesn't tell us. I gotta get a good chart for setting up the bots. But our main bot is going to be between this high and down here, and then our other bot is going to be like 75 to 107. And we'll have to see how and if we get bounces. But essentially, going to have one order that's trying to catch the low at 75 and give me the best price that I can possibly get up to 75. You think of it as dollar cost averaging down to the 75 mark. And then I'm going to have another bot running that'll actually go all the way down to 66 and accumulate. So I'm also going to place limit orders at 75, 66, and I don't think I need to set one at 30, but 42,000 is the 800 EMA on the 4-day. So that would be our next support target if there is a rejection of this mean at 66. So we'll improve on this video, and I will try to put together a video about setting up the bots to be edited and then uploaded later. All right. Thank you and have a good day. Stay safe. Do good work. There we go.